The Land and Water and UW Extension meeting will come to order. Was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Supervisor Mons, Supervisor Wimmer, Supervisor McLaughlin, Supervisor Krug is excused unless he comes in later. Doreen is not here. And we have Pat Wagner here. Dustin is here. Evan is here. Adam, welcome. And Sheila and Linda. And so we have, I think, Kyle Patterson is here. County Manager Haggard is here. And Mary Lou Paler is here. And myself. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda with the amendment of removing item 26 and adding the following to the beginning of item number 25. The language is, it is the committee's intention to not return to open session once the closed session is complete. So I would entertain a motion to have that and a second. Not seeing it. Okay, so we will not amend the agenda and we will keep item 26 as is. Do I have a motion and second to approve the agenda as is? Bruce Mons is a first. Do I have a second? Bill Wimmer is a second. The agenda is approved. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the May 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes? Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing that there are no corrections, the minutes are approved. Is there anyone signed up for public participation?
No, there is not.
Is there any correspondence for the committee to consider?
No, there is not.
Okay. Was everyone able to access the sheet that corresponds to Land and Water and UWX projects? Are there any questions? Pardon me, Supervisor Mons.
I don't know what it is. I cannot connect to the internet here, but I get here with my laptop.
Okay. Have you addressed that with Rich?
He does it every time I get in here, but it doesn't stay.
Interesting technology.
So at home, it's perfect. I'm able to do everything that I need to do at home in my 5 minutes.
When we're here, Supervisor Mons, you're able to see everything on the screen. Do you want Melissa to explode the links?
No.
Okay. Okay. Just let us know. Okay, moving on to vehicle purchases. Who is here for that? Kyle?
Yep, Madam Chair. So they opened up ordering for vehicles late May. And had, I think, like a May 31st deadline for placing orders on the vehicles. I received an email from AF Motors. I was able to obtain quotes for a 2024 Chevy Equinox, which that one is going to be for Land and Water. And then they also were slated to replace 3 of their Chevy Silverado 1500s. However, the Chevy Silverado 1500s, they were not able to obtain pricing for them at this point. What we're looking for is approval to move forward with purchase of a 2024 Chevy Equinox and 3 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500s. I kind of touched on it yesterday in the property and recreation meeting, just because we've been so backlogged with all the vehicles. We've had trouble in getting quotes. We've placed orders with dealers before, and they've come around and said, oh, we couldn't fulfill the order. It's just kind of unprecedented times right now that we're in with the vehicles.
So we don't have quotes. on the trucks?
We have a quote for the Equinox, but we do not have a quote for the Silverado 1500s. For some reason, those are the only ones that they were not able to give us quotes for. We were able to get quotes for 2500s and 3500s, but not 1500s.
Okay. What are you looking for from the committee, Kyle?
We're looking for approval to purchase the 2024 Chevy Equinox and 3 2024 Chevy Silverado 1500s.
Supervisor Mons?
This is discussed, we have to have a motion.
Correct. We need a motion to put on the floor to discuss. Supervisor Mons moves to put the vehicle purchases up for discussion. Do I have a second? Supervisor McLaughlin has a second. So the motion that's on the floor is to discuss approving the purchase of a 2024 Equinox and 3 2024 Silverado 1500s. This is open for discussion. Supervisor Mons. Sure, please.
What type are you looking at, 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive?
Madam Chair, it'd be a 4-wheel drive.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wimmer.
Madam Chair, what are we replacing here?
Kyle.
We have currently 3 half-ton trucks for land and water that they use for going out for various functions that they do. And then same with the Chevy Equinox.
What year are they and how many miles?
Madam Chair, I'll look it up right now.
Thank you.
While we're at it, what is the intent to do with these vehicles that we have if this motion were to pass?
Madam Chair, we'll be auctioning those vehicles off on Wisconsin Surplus.
Supervisor Mons.
While we're looking that up, I would like to know if we've looked at anything else, particularly another dealership or Ford, you know, and not staying with Chevy. Are we required, because we are in Adams County, to use that dealership? Secondly, sometime I do know that the used car market still is carrying, especially on trucks, as I've just been through this process the last 3 weeks myself. And so we might be better off trading those in if the dealership so desires.
Thank you, Supervisor Mons.
I have a question.
Yes, Supervisor Wimmer.
It is my understanding that we need at least 2 bids for each purchase. Am I wrong in that?
Madam Chair, that's correct. Typically, we do try to get 2 bids for vehicle purchases. In the past, we've been able to do that, but because we're about 23 vehicles behind countywide, it's a struggle getting any sort of quotes from multiple dealers. The state does have a contract with Napleton, I believe, and Ewalds for purchasing vehicles. And in the past, AF Motors has been lower or very close to those same quotes. Still looking up the mileage and the year on the vehicles. Dusty, you probably know the year right away offhand. Sorry to put you on the spot.
The Equinox, I believe, is a 2018. The trucks are a 2014, 19, 19, and a 21. Which one's the Equinox? The 19?
19.
Okay,
yep.
19. So 14, 19, 19, 20.
21. Yep.
One more time, I'm so sorry. 14, 19.
2014 Chevy Silverado, 2019 Chevy Equinox, 2019 Chevy Silverado, 2021 Chevy Silverado. And going back to the capital budget, the plan was to turn vehicles over every 2 years because when we do auction them off, we get pretty good dollar for them. I think we have looked at trading in before, and we found that auctions are a little more beneficial for the county.
In your estimation, does it seem prudent to move forward on approving vehicle purchases without proper bids in place?
Madam Chair, I think it would probably be best to move forward with approving the vehicles, just because we've been so backlogged with getting any vehicles. And AF Motors has been the lowest bidder in past circumstances. So they deal directly with the manufacturer. So we would be having the same, pretty much the same pricing, or maybe even a little more, because there would be a destination charge as well on top of that for other dealers that are on the state contract.
Are other vehicle purchases proceeding in the same manner, Kyle? Where we're kind of getting the cart before the horse?
Yep, Madam Chair. Yeah, we did this with property and recreation yesterday. I know that in the past there was an instance with the sheriff's department, because what's happening is the manufacturers are opening up the ordering and having a very short turnaround time. So it doesn't give municipalities the time needed to hold a meeting and approve the order. So the sheriff actually went through this situation not too long ago where they placed the order on the vehicle and then went and requested approval for that vehicle from the committee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Wimmer?
Didn't we know about these? We were going to have these purchases from our 2023 budget?
He's nodding. Kyle's nodding.
Up or down?
Up. Nodding, not shaking his
Not
head. He's
shaking.
nodding.
Well, that seems like plenty of time to get another vehicle bid. I hate to see us I brought this up at property yesterday. You know, we start circumventing rules that we have in place, and it kind of doesn't look good for the presidents of our county to not abide by whatever protocols we have set up.
Thank you, Supervisor Wimmer. Are there any other questions or comments? Supervisor McLaughlin?
For whatever it's worth, I won't buy a pound of hamburger if I don't know what I'm going to pay for it. So you probably get my idea about how I feel. I voted seconded to get this on the floor. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily, which I'm not, in favor of agreeing to buy something with unknown price.
Thank you, Supervisor McLaughlin. Okay, if there are no other questions or concerns, there is a motion on the floor. Did you need something, County Manager Hager?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Kyle, although we don't know the pricing, obviously we would set a max that we would not exceed and not place the order if it exceeds that, correct?
That's kind of a hard one to answer. The 3,500 truck that we got a quote on was actually priced lower than the 2,500. So we're not entirely sure where the 1,500s are going to be placed for pricing at this point. I have to go back and look at the capital budget to see what we had. I'm having a little connectivity issues right now. But the intention was that half-ton trucks, they're a hot commodity, I guess, with the consumer market, and a lot of people will pay pretty good prices for these secondhand vehicles.
Madam Chair, got another question.
Yes, County Manager Hager.
So if we don't get the purchase of these vehicles, what condition are the current vehicles in?
They're still acceptable. My understanding over the last year has been, we've been moving towards maybe a little quicker turnaround to maximize what we can get out of the used vehicles. the ones we have are usable. I don't think any are super high miles at all. But yes, they are usable.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, one more.
Yes, County Manager Hager.
Thank you. So Ewald and Napleton are the state contracts. Are there any vehicles out there to negotiate?
With them?
Yeah, so if we're looking at AF Motors with these three, the 14, 19, 21, what does Ewald or Napleton have? Because that's normally the route we would take.
Yeah, we would have to reach out to them as well. My understanding in talking with AF Motors was that it was placing the order for these vehicles. They weren't opening up to hold the vehicles. They wanted the orders actually placed through the manufacturer, because the government fleet vehicle allocations were coming down from the manufacturer. So the order actually had to be placed.
Madam Chair.
Yes, County Manager Hager.
So we're placing an order for used vehicles? Because it looks like to me, you said what was available was the 14, 19, 21.
That's what we have.
Oh, no, that's what we currently have.
Okay, that's where I'm making the mistake. So these are all new vehicles,
Yes.
like 2023s?
2024.
Okay, they're all 24s.
So I have a question, but go ahead, Supervisor Wimmer. I know you had a question.
Yeah. Madam Chair, the oldest vehicle is 4 years old.
No, 2014 is the oldest vehicle.
2014?
Yep, that's a truck, right? The Equinox was a 2019.
Correct.
And then we have a 14, 19 and a 21 truck. If I wrote that down correctly. Okay.
Not only do I have a question with not having multiple bids and skirting around protocols, but I also have a question that when Dusty says getting more out of what we have, I would say we should be getting more out of these vehicles than we are. You know, things are going to be tightening up here pretty soon. I saw an article in the paper that communities are worried about getting monies from the state. And that tells me that maybe we should be hanging on to these vehicles and getting a little more out of them than just turning around and trading all the time. So I would suggest we follow county protocol. And secondly, I would suggest we get more out of these vehicles.
Thank you, Supervisor Wimmer. The question I had was, it sounds as though bids were not requested then from Napleton, and what was the other one? Ewald.
Correct. Like I said, in the past, when we've been able to have the turnaround time to get multiple quotes, AF Motors has beat out the competition and had lower pricing, or if not, it was within $1,000 of the other dealers that are on the state bids. I do have the mileage on the vehicles. 2014 Chevy Silverado last fuel up was just over 54,000 miles. The Equinox about 24,000. The 2019 Silverado about 23,000, and the 2021 Silverado about 17,000. And the reason that we are replacing the vehicles in such short turnaround time is so that way we're not funding these assets using tax levy. We're trying to buy them at our government discount that we typically get. And you'll see that quoted out on there. Government fleet bid assistance, $2,100 discount, dealer discount, another $2,100. So we get the vehicles at a steep discount. We use them for a couple of years. We turn around and we can sell them for close to, if not more than what we paid for them. So the idea is that this short turnaround is making it so they're not funded by tax levy.
Thank you. Were there any other questions or concerns? Then we will take a vote. All those in favor of passing approving the vehicle purchases, please say aye. All those not in favor, please say nay. Nay. Okay, so that motion has failed. since we have a bid for the Equinox and we're looking at an Equinox of 2019, does anyone wish to make a motion to move forward on that purchase alone? Okay, I'm going to say that that failed then also. All right, the vehicle purchase request did not pass. All right, moving on. We are at the UW Extension and we have an introduction for Adam. How do you pronounce the last name? Hartfield. I thought so, but I always ask. He is our new regional livestock extension educator. Welcome. And I don't know if you want to be put on the spot and come up and give us a. All right, thank you. Is the microphone on for him? No, on the back, I think. Green light is on. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. A little bit about myself. Like she said, my name is Adam Hartfield. I grew up in Outagamie, Waupaca County border there on my family's dairy farm. 2010, we sold our cows, and since we've been going the beef cattle route, finishing our own steers, about 200 every year, and selling those privately. I went to school at UW River Falls, graduated in 2019 with my degree in animal science, and I have a minor in ag business as well. I also met my wife at River Falls. She had the opportunity to go on to grad school at Iowa State. So since 2019, we took a little venture to Ames, Iowa. There I worked for the National Center for Animal Health. Right there in Ames, I dealt with pigs, beef cattle, dairy cattle, and just making sure the food that we're putting into the human consumption cycle is safe, as well as working with different vaccines from companies like Zoetis and other private entities like that. I'm excited to get back to the community, the area here. Not right in my neighborhood, but certainly within arm's reach. So I appreciate your time today, and I look forward to working with all of you as well as the community members in Adams and Waushara and Green Lake counties as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Adam? Supervisor Wimmer?
Adam, I did see there was a pasture walk coming up. Was that Evan put that on there, or was there one in Golden Sands or some grazing?
I can't speak to that. I'm unfamiliar with that at the moment.
It was in here someplace.
I believe it is in Natasha's.
Okay, I did participate in the pasture walk at Natasha's farmstead, but that did happen already.
Golden Sands, is that what it's called? Golden Sands Grazing Network? And when is that?
Natasha's not with us today because of her nitrogen. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Evan. Golden Sands Grazing Conference. That's a committee that she's working on. That's not the pasture walk. The pasture walk was something that she did as a result of her programming with Crops and Soils. Oh. So her wanting to give people the opportunity to see this, to see the land and how it's managed with a herd of cattle on it.
Okay. All right. I want to welcome you, and I'm really glad to have you on board, and wish you the best. In any way we can help out, let us know.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is there any other questions for Adam? Seeing none. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. You pushed down, I think. Yep.
Thank you. Well educated. You figured that out.
All right. Area Extension Director report, Pat.
Hi, I'm excited to have Adam as part of our team. I've got to know him a little bit in the last 2.5 weeks. That he's, how many days? 15? Good. So no, he's it'll be a good addition to our team, and we're looking forward to that. And as you commented, you'd like to be able to give him input. That's something that he's going to need. He's going to need the input of local residents to help him identify the needs that a livestock educator can serve. So anytime, definitely this is a gentleman you want to hook up with because of his background with grazing and beef cattle. Well, okay, perfect. Also, Natasha's not here with us today. She has several farmers doing what she's calling a nitrogen optimization what is it? Nitrogen optimization project, right? And so DATCAP is funding these grants. And so she's currently over in the eastern side of our area. She's in Green Lake County today, meeting with DATCAP and the farmers to go through some of the steps of that process. So that's where she's at today. You saw her report that was attached. And the last thing I'd like to share today is that Extension, just like Adams County, I was looking at the project status report, is doing a strategic plan. About 2 or 3 months ago, I had a conversation with Cynthia about what she thought the needs for Adams County would be that Extension could address. So they've compiled a lot of information, they being Division of Extension staff across the state, and they've shared out what we have so far. It's not the plan, it's information. Do you remember getting that email, Cynthia, from Carl Martin just in the last day or two? Okay, understand. So anyway, so she did receive the feedback at this point, and I would like to share it all with you as well. Again, it is feedback. It is information for you to look at as far as what the people across the state of Wisconsin say that the Division of Extension could do for people in rural Wisconsin and across the state. I didn't interview each of you individually. There was just not enough time, but this process would allow you to give some more feedback. So I will be sending you an email. It'll come from Pat Wagner. Look for that, and then you can offer more input if you would like. Okay, so I'll get that out by the end of this week, and we will gather more information as we move forward to be using our dollars that we have in Extension to the best possible means. Okay, any questions? And you'll have to look for that one. Turn it off.
Pat, I do have one question. Is everything going along well for the department?
This department in Adams County or the whole state?
UWX?
Yeah, I think for them, yeah, absolutely. We're, there are changes. We're looking at different things, different ways with our ag staffing model that's different, right? But I feel that we are getting good feedback from the individuals and our needs are being met. We're finding new and different ways of getting information to people that we didn't do before. We have fewer FTEs across the state. And so how do we do that? We have a person, this is related specifically to agriculture. Her name is Caitlin Davis. She is working specifically on how we can help answer more questions for people in the agriculture world without having a specific full-time ag educator in each county. And that's exciting. So that is still kind of in the works, and it's similar to what we have currently called Ask a Garden Question. We don't have, when Evan was in his part-time role as an ag educator, he did some of that. That's not in Natasha's priority for her programming or in Adam's priority, but if you have a garden question, we have this really awesome portal that you can put your information. I've used it 3 or 4 times. Found out what was wrong with my tree in the front yard, send them a picture. If you don't have a camera, you don't have technology, Linda and Laura will support that at the Extension office. So ways for you and the county residents in Adams County and in the other counties of the state to get answers, but you're not having to put that on your tax levy because that staff isn't being paid for by your tax levies.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're excited. It's different, right? It's not the old model, but it's a different model, and that doesn't mean it's bad. Okay.
Thank you. Keep us posted.
Sure.
All right. Educators reports. Are there any questions for the UW Extension staff that's here? You guys are keeping busy. If there aren't any questions on that, we will move forward to the Student Government Day evaluation.
So those 2 little sub bullets, I wasn't going to really speak on them. I wanted you guys to take a look at them and have that information available to you. So again, this is our evaluation from this past Student Government Day for 2023. So again, just something for you to reference of the impact that we're having on our young people here for Adams County.
Evan, how do you feel the numbers are?
In
these different categories on the evaluation, are we reaching?
Yeah, I think we're most certainly reaching our goals, which this year's goal was to showcase government careers and the impact that we have. And so if we're just looking at like the first bullet of understanding how local government and state government works together in our community, we can see that we're having a greater impact. 5 on our scale here is really good. And so if you look at our data there, we're seeing an increase in knowledge on that area.
Are there any questions for, oh, yes, Supervisor Mons.
I would like to just further that, attendance wise, are we seeing the same numbers? Are you serving the same amount of youth over the past 5 years? Are you seeing a decline? Where is that? And all the programs that you guys are doing, and I know it's extensive, and I'm 100% behind programs like this, but where do you see these numbers on physical attendance?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So our numbers, they're going to be different, and I want to explain that. So from 2019 was the first one that I had participated in. I did not organize. I just was playing a role that day. And we had one school participate in. Then 2020 hit, so that is an out year. 2021, we did not have one as well. 2022, we reached a new audience of having the Nakusa school. So we had a big influx in students. We had 80 freshman students from Nakusa. So that was huge. And then another goal this year, another newness this year that we had was we had new populations, as well as we had school districts from Westfield, and we also had a homeschool population join us as well. So our numbers, granted, we didn't have the 80 numbers that we had from Nakusa, but we still had a new reach of students that we haven't reached previously.
Thank you, march on.
Thank you.
Evan, they only had 24 evaluation forms returned though. Are we failing in getting those back to show how many how many there are in attending the student government day and how they feel? I mean, how can we do better? How can we get more information back?
We just to get more information, we would just need to have more. So 24 is then how many students we had come for the day. But again, we had that broken out into the different school districts, homeschool, Westfield, and Adams Friendship. So we just need to we've invited Wisconsin Dells and Nakusa. We just need to have a more of a presence from other schools.
Do we have any idea how we're going to go about doing that?
But that's what's in conversation moving forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, can I just briefly talk about the bullet B, the 4-H curriculum?
Yes.
Okay. So I included this on the report as this is the Wisconsin 4-H movement is something that has been in my report since the creation of 2020. And so I just wanted to showcase some of the great efforts that my colleagues and I across the state, what we've been working on, some hard evidence. This is our first curriculum that we have created and then trialed, and then we published it. So this is a tool that's available for educators and volunteers and 4-H members across Wisconsin to utilize within their clubs, their communities, their after-school programs, wherever they see fit. And so again, I just wanted to showcase this to you guys. And then just a hard in person, we have a Clover Cube, which is just one of the activities that we put together and trialed and published. So great things happening. Again, this is available for you, just a reference.
I just have to say, really well done.
Thank you.
Very extensive, really impressed with the content. How does one get a color copy? Because, sometimes you need that. The black and white just doesn't do it justice.
Yeah. Come and talk to us and we can get you connected with a color copy.
All right. Sounds good. Excellent job. Any questions for Evan on the 4-H curriculum? All right. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to the financials. Did everyone have the opportunity to review the financials, and are there any questions? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have any other questions for the other educators that are here? Sheila is here. Anybody? Okay. All right. Thank you for attending. Okay. Seeing that there's no questions from the committee, we're going to go on to the Land and Water. The Lake Winnebago Land and Water Conservation Association report was attached. Thank you guys for making the trip over. Kiefer attended that meeting and he is acting as secretary. He is not here today. So if there are questions, maybe Dustin, could you field those if there's questions in regards to that report? Yes, okay. So let's just see, are there any questions? All right, I guess you're off the hook. Oops, yeah, Supervisor Wimmer?
Yes. This was kind of directed at Dustin. If possible, I would like to see if there is a report that the person who has the report would actually attend the meeting, if possible. I'd kind of like to hear what Kiefer was up to and how the meeting went, that type of thing.
And that is something we can look into. Typically, I haven't done that. That is why we submit the report ahead of time. But it is something I can look into for sure.
That would be welcome. So, okay. Land and Water staff report. Are there any questions for Land and Water staff, seeing that they're not here for Dustin? I have one. Why aren't we replacing our program director? And all of their functions, all of the functions that they did.
Sure. So when we were notified that Megan was leaving, I had some conversations with County Manager Haggard, and some of the functions that that position provided are going to be handled elsewhere and on a more broad across the county better, or serving not just land and water. For example, a lot of the grant tracking centralized the county or financial, and Kyle and Cynthia can explain centralized accounting better than I possibly could, but ultimately we still benefit from it, but as do other county departments. Some of the other functions that that position did aren't going away. They are going to be continued, just in a different, by somebody else or a different format. We shouldn't see any drop off in services provided just by losing that position.
So we're going to keep our silent auction, other tree and shrub. I think Megan handled the brunt of that. I know it was a department and across the state kind of thing, but she was the kind of the leader.
Right. So the intention is to continue the tree and shrub sale. The details still working on. As far as the silent auction, that won't be continued, but that was also not for the benefit of Adams County directly.
The children programs, are those going to be continued?
I have been in contact with UW Extension to discuss continuing those types of programs. Same with the outdoor days, stuff like that. I can up front this year, just timing wise doesn't look promising, but the programs aren't going away.
Okay.
Same with the poster contest.
So the art contest. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
And then another function that Megan did provide, kind of ancillary to everything else, was she would help like be a second to a lot of the other staff members, whether it's a mine visit or whatever. And among the rest of the staff between the zoning and land conservation department, they would be assuming those roles, assisting.
And they have enough time to do?
I will make sure they do.
Okay. All right. Supervisor McLaughlin, you had a question?
I think I had a comment, and now I'm not sure how to put it.
Just spit it out.
I guess so. It's the best way. In all honesty, I'll use the word explanation we just got really is not an explanation. It sounds extremely vague. And so that's leaving me wondering what was meant by the term elsewhere and others and all this kind of stuff. It sounds like either there is been little, if any, progress on deciding exactly what path they're going down, because that certainly nothing really was, very little was put forward.
Thank you, Supervisor McLaughlin. I guess that also segues into Carolyn Prawley's departure. What expectations are there for that?
That position, and I've spoke with Cynthia about this, is that the job functions are going to stay the same. The position is going to get refilled. I want to rewrite the job description and the what would be posted, just to really clarify what it is. The current job description says it, but it's not super clear. I anticipate finishing it this week. It will have to get regraded and then republished, so, or reposted, or not reposted, posted.
Posted. Yes. Supervisor Wimmer, then Supervisor McLaughlin.
I was not aware of Carolyn
Prawley
departure. I thought we were talking about
Megan Steckelberg is left also.
There's something vague, and I'll reiterate what Supervisor McLaughlin so keenly pinpointed, that there's a lot of vagueness in this, and I guess I would like to have a little more information on where we're going and what happens that these people leave so quickly. And again, this comes up at our county board meetings, not just in this, but in other areas. And I guess a little more involvement and by the county board or by the various committees would maybe help allay the question marks that many of us may have.
Thank you, Supervisor Wimmer. Supervisor McLaughlin, and then Supervisor Mons.
I just had a question about the job description. Was there determined to be some problem or problems with the current job description that it's being rewritten?
When that job description was originally written about 1.5 years ago, upon the previous county conservationist departure, the job position was written to strictly remove all the supervisory responsibilities, and then those were put into the director's job description. The biggest thing that, or my biggest goal in rewriting it, is to pinpoint the focus of what that person would be. One of the primary examples would be some type of forestry background, because they will become the deputy county forest administrator. They do have a very hands-on role with that. I was lucky with Carolyn that she was interested in pursuing that. But it is something that I would like to make part of the actual job description. As far as problems, no, it needs to be cleaned up.
Supervisor Mons.
I have a question for the county administrator. It was my understanding as of about 2 weeks ago, we hadn't made a decision whether or not that Megan Steckelberg's position would be replaced, or whether or not that would not. Is that correct statement? About 2 weeks ago, we were still wondering whether or not that we were going to replace her with another person.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I believe we were discussing potentially or moving dollars from land and water in order to do the centralized accounting. So that did touch part of that position's dollars in the budget. But yeah, so we are not going forward with filling that position.
I know that, but was that decision made immediately, or was there a thought of filling that position with a new person?
So the position that was pretty much set. The dollars were probably still needed in the area as we are analyzing that current vacancy with Ms. Prawley.
The reason that I'm asking that question, we have commented about vagueness on some of the duties that she was assigned to do, and things take time. I mean, if we're going to change some of the responsibility, for instance, the art, what was that, where she
Art
did
contest?
the poster contest. I mean, if UW Extension, I mean, if they do that, that's fine. I just don't know anything else that was too vague as far as that goes. But I was just wondering whether or not that we were still, as of 2 weeks ago, looking at filling the position, or if at the time that she left, it was decided right then, because it hasn't been that long ago that she's left. I mean, this hasn't been gone over for a half a year or even 3 months, I don't think, but. So it does take time to look at those things.
And if I may, so we started once we were informed that Megan was leaving that position. The conversation immediately started with county manager and myself, and it wasn't by any stretch of the imagination an easy decision to make. And it's I felt we were going to get a lot more benefit by not having the position on a countywide basis, not just in our department. But I don't think at any point we've gone through and actually had a resolution per se to eliminate the position. Once the funding was removed, that eliminated the position. And if I recall correctly, that happened at county board last month. Weren't the 3 resolutions, I believe, for the...
I guess that's what I was trying to bring up. I'm sorry, and I'm not, if I'm out of order, but I'm sorry, that's what I was saying. So that's only a couple of weeks ago. So in assigning these other duties that Megan did, besides being the administrative assistant at the Land and Water, I'm just saying it takes time to continue. If these things are going to be continued, who's going to do them and where they're going to fall. That's the only comment that I was making as far as him trying to answer a question and not having the exact, well, this is happening here, this is happening here, this is happening here.
And he is absolutely correct. It is evolving. Immediately, one of the decisions that basically the first decision that was made is anything financial on the Land and Water side, for example. It is now divided between Janine and Lauren on the zoning division side. Anything with deposits is Janine, anything with expenses is Lauren. And those were functions that Megan had taken care of previously. That's one example so far, but.
Okay, Supervisor McLaughlin and then Supervisor Wimmer.
Backing up a little bit to what the director said about assigning other duties, and indicated that some of those are, well, I guess he didn't say how many, but would go to planning and zoning staff. And I think somebody also asked if they were going to have time for that. And the response was, I'll make sure that they do. From what I understand and what I know, those people are all quite busy. So I'm just kind of wondering what was meant by saying, well, I'll make sure they do have time. What does that mean? Does that mean you're going to quit doing some other stuff, or what? I'm just trying to figure out what all that means.
Yeah. So to address that, it's a lot of it's about prioritization. One of the primary things that Megan did, not primary, she was the assistant. So if we did a mine visit, and we have, I believe it's 10 mines in the county that we regulate, we do an annual visit. It's in the fall. It should be after our busy season starts winding down. I have 2, 3, or 2.5 inspectors, plus a GIS person that, with prioritization, we put it on the calendar that, okay, today you're going to be out assisting with mine visits. No other programs are going away on, for example, on the zoning side. Another function that Megan did was if land and water, other land and water staff weren't available and we had to clear a log out of a dam someplace, or we have one project coming up here where we have to fix a staff gauge on the side of a dam. It's safety wise and just you need 2 people. I already have one of my inspectors planning on at whatever point we're going to be able to do it. When Kiefer says it's okay or the schedule opens up, the other one will go out and assist in that project. But that's how I'm addressing the situation of not having the program coordinator position.
Thank you. Supervisor Wimmer, you had a question?
Yeah, Madam Chair. It just kind of brings it to my attention, thinking about this, is that Megan coordinated a lot of things. And that's a very difficult talent to replace, particularly when we have staff that's leaving at maybe the attrition rate may appear to be a little high. And I don't know what the reason is. You know, people are constantly everywhere the attrition rates are high. But to have that coordination is quite a good tool to have for the county.
It's
just a comment that I have, and now that I see that Carolyn Frail left, it becomes even more important to have that coordination. Thank you.
I have a question for Dustin Grant. We're assigning all of these different job duties to cover the loss of staff. Are we going back and changing their job descriptions? Because I think that's not going to work in the long run, or shouldn't work in the long run, right? I mean, they have their own duties. Yes, County Manager Hager.
Madam Chair. So when it comes to internal management functions, personnel matters, job descriptions, assignment of tasks, retention, recruitment, that is an internal management function. It is not a board function.
I understand that. Are we replacing job descriptions is all I'm asking. I'm not saying specifically to whom, but I'm just saying when we lose a person, are we replacing the duties on someone else in their job description?
Madam Chair, job descriptions fall under daily management.
So in other words, that's a no-no for a topic. Got it. Okay, so policy-wise, because I think the committee knows that we all are responsible for setting policy. I guess to me, outreach is part of a land and water department's function. And so policy-wise, would it be fair to say that we're looking at the next generation after that? We need a sense of community in our land and water department. Can we put something in policy-wise that would encourage some of these programs that sound like we're going to be losing to actually come back for consideration? Please.
So as I was saying earlier, a lot of the main outreach programs, I mean, the poster contest is a big part of it, the outdoor days, the one we had last September in Rocher Creek. Those are my intentions, to have those stick around. Somebody will be doing the poster contest, even if I have to do it. That's not, I agree, that's very important. The outdoor days is a major undertaking. And that's why I am working with UW Extension, see what they, and I've already talked to them. It's something they feel they would probably be able to do. We still have to hammer out all the details. The unfortunate part is it's something that needed to start about a month ago. Just school timing wise, because the outdoor days last year was first week of September, right after they came back to school. Very difficult to schedule it next school year, so you actually have to lay the groundwork now. Because of the timing of the departure, that wasn't possible, and that's why this year the outdoor days I just don't feel is going to happen. But moving forward, there are some programs similar to that is what I'm foreseeing. It's high on my priority list too, as far as, you know, setting a policy for it. I think we're on the same page. Anyway, we're not losing those programs.
Right. We're just losing our staff. Yes, Supervisor Weber.
Well, Madam Chair, our administrator's curt response to our inquiry gives me more of a curt response to her response, is that these are question marks that are not getting answered. And you can say internal all you like, Cynthia, but if they aren't being taken care of. And that's just my response to it. We are not telling you how to do your job. We're just inquiring on why these things are happening. It happens at the county level board meetings, and it's happening in this committee meeting and other places. It is not that we're trying to get into your little sphere. It's just that we would like some answers, or at least where you're going to find the answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wimmer. All right. Where were we? Land and Water Staff Report. So that opened Pandora's box. Are there any other questions or comments for Dustin Grant on the Land and Water Staff Report? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Dams report. Could you give us a?
Yeah, nothing too exciting on that. We are still waiting for Ayers and we did meet Ayers and Associates. Excuse me. Few weeks ago to start figuring out what we have to do with the big Roche Creek Dam, or the Roche Creek Dam, the Cottonville Dam on Big Roche Creek. We're still holding out pretty high hopes, and I think that's what's going to happen, is that we are going to be able to wait till next year so we can apply for a municipal dam grant to help cover a lot of those costs of repairs. So right now what we're mainly working on, and the DNR has been involved, is more of a monitoring, making sure that it doesn't get worse. One really highlight for the week or last month is we are now getting data from the Peppermill water elevation monitor. It's been a struggle getting, there's a lot of moving components in those boards, and everything we do is with a company out of, well, the person we talk to is in Texas, but the company's out of California, and so we're shipping stuff back and forth. But after 6 months, 9 months, we do actually have data coming in from them now on one. Now that we know how that one, how it has to be set up, the others will get done quickly, which is nice because we can monitor lake elevations then from my desktop. Dams wise, that's about it.
So I have a question. What is the data indicating other than elevation change? So it's not a cause. It's just saying we're at this elevation this day, we're at this elevation the next day, and
yep. Currently, and we can program it. We pay accordingly, but we can program it to how often we want to send data. Right now in the testing phase, where it's sending data every 15 minutes, I can tell you what the lake elevation is. When it's all up and running, it'll be once a day we get a lake elevation. As we start to see an increase, and we happen to not gone down to a lake for a week, and all of a sudden it's a foot high, we have an issue, and now we have to go on site. But for the most part, we can just monitor it as we start seeing issues. One thing we did talk with the company on is for, like, say 2 months in the spring, that we start doing it instead of just daily, it would be maybe twice daily, a little more data.
Is that to capture rain events or something, and how that? Okay, so one question, you say you have it on your computer, but we go out and investigate. If you're gone, is that information coming on someone else's computer in Land and Water so that they are made aware of it?
Yep. So as of right now, because it's brand new, we started getting data on Friday. Everybody will have login information to get to it. When we're completely up and running and I'm comfortable with the data, We're going to actually embed that so any member of the public can go and get the water elevation for those eight lakes. No login required. It'll just be on our website. I don't know if that's going to be like maybe a delayed type. It depends on what the website's capable of. The company we go through, or the whole setup, for each lake or each monitor, I can set a high and low limit, and then there'll be 3 numbers that it calls if it exceeds those limits at any time. It starts with the first one. If I don't answer or whatever, it keeps moving down the line. So I know there's an issue right away if there is a problem. But everybody has access. Everybody will have access to it.
Once all the things are worked out of it. Okay, yes, Supervisor McLaughlin, you had a question? Thank you.
I have a comment or a statement or two. I just wanted to shed a little light on it. I believe what Dustin's talking about is the well program that was started by me. And one of the initial reasons for that program was to put in a network of observation wells throughout the county. And one of the purposes would be to assist sanitary installers to be able to use that information. And they very much appreciate that network of wells that being put in. And that's how it got started. And then, and actually the way it was done, we got people to put in the wells for us for nothing, for the county for nothing. We had to pay for the material. Of course, when we're talking about these wells, we're not talking about 100-foot deep well. You're talking about a groundwater monitoring well, and typically I couldn't throw you a number out right now, but they're not all that deep. But I'm just saying, and then I'm glad to see it sounds like the program is continued and being even extended, because it's a very good thing to be doing. It has lots of uses, lots of uses to several people. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor McLaughlin. A well versus dam. So,
yep.
Okay.
So that's a similar and related project, but the one we were talking about is separate. The groundwater monitoring, yep, it's been in place since 2011. We didn't get a lot of data over the years. About a year ago, well, about July 4th weekend is what it was. We started getting good data from 4 of those wells. Been continuously, ironically, or maybe it was set up back in 2011 that way. It's the exact same company, same system that's monitoring. So we have 4 groundwater monitoring wells currently operational. We have 2 more that we plan on making operational. And then we have 8 monitoring stations on dams, monitoring lake level. Again, when it's all said and done, and I have 12 fully functional items, they'll all be tied together to mean sea level, and the numbers will all coordinate. They'll all be available. On the groundwater monitoring side, a big part of it was, right now we have 2 wells in the area that people use for installing septic systems at times. Some of them are 17, there's times where they're 17, 18 miles away from the job site. By having these other 4 wells, they're a lot closer. Plus they don't have to actually go to the well and measure. A septic installer would be able to go online and get that data for whatever day they need. But we got those up and running. And with what we learned from that, we were able to do the lake level monitoring.
Okay, so I have a question, 2 questions. One is, it sounds like some of this was in place in 2011, but we did not have the connection to get that data until recently?
No, for about 2 to 3 years, they were, the wells were transmitting.
Okay.
There were some changes that the company made. They switched from an analog antenna to a digital antenna. The circuit board, some of that stuff changed. And over time, I think personnel changed over the years, and they stopped transmitting the data. Unfortunately, now we do have that data back. We have to correlate it with the state or the 2 wells that are out there already. On the land and water side, it almost appeared a lot of them weren't never completely set up from the beginning. However, I did talk to the gentleman from McGinnis Lake, and he said that once upon a time they were able to get those elevations, and I think he said that was online that they were able to get those. And I don't have the details on what year that stopped, but from what I can tell, it's been a decade.
Okay, so we kind of fell through the cracks, but now we're back on the surface.
That's almost what it.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't here. I can't.
Right.
I don't know what happened.
Not a problem. It's good that we're moving forward on it. Historical information. You said there might be information on the web page. How much of a range are we going to give for historical? So, you know, last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or it's all going to be out there and you just have to query it, right?
All is my goal.
Okay.
A lot of it's going to depend on what the company says I can, or what the capabilities of their graphing function is to ours. At any point, I can export all the data, import it in, and then you'd have to play with it yourself. But otherwise, through the charting, right now I have access to all the data we have. I just have to make sure that transfers over to the county website in a somewhat user-friendly manner.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? All right, going from the dams report down to the county forest report.
Nothing. I mean, we do have an upcoming agenda item. Not a ton of other updates besides what we'll cover in that. The application for the Knowles Nelson Stewardship grant was submitted. We did get a scoring back out of 10. It was rated a 7.3, which is actually really high. I don't know what you have to do to get to a 10, but as far as because we are on the south side of or southern edge of the county forest program, I think that was a big reason we ranked as high as we did, but they looked at many different factors. We did also, part of submitting that application, the next step, the DNR sent out a letter to the municipalities that the potential county or potential acquisition is located in, which in this case is Big Flats and Rome. The town of Rome, looking for letters of support for the Joint Finance Committee at the state to take into consideration. I have a meeting coming up with the town of Big Flats to answer any questions they have about it and hopefully get their support. The town of Rome immediately sent back a letter all in favor of it and very excited about it. They do currently have the rest of our county. I mean, our current county forest is entirely located in Rome, so they are familiar with it. Big Flats is the one that they haven't said yes, no, or anything else. Just we have a meeting. Let's discuss it. So
they have not given you any support at this time, and that has to be connected to the DNR, which then goes to the Knowles grant for the joint.
Yes.
Chiefs. What is it? Okay, so
Joint Finance Committee.
Joint Finance Committee. Okay, so does this slow down the process for the Knowles Nelson grant? Okay.
No, it's the letter from Doug, the DNR forestry program county forest person, just went to the towns like a week and a half ago, maybe 2. But he gets that out as soon as that application comes in. The thought process that Doug had was that we would probably end up at joint finance sometime in August. So really, as long as, I mean, it's not required that we have these. If they write a letter opposed to it, that's certainly going to hurt us. But any letters of support, even sportsmen's clubs or, you know, anything along those lines, anything you can do to help your application. But it shouldn't slow it down.
Okay. All right. Anything else with the existing county forest? Do we have any trails established, anything like that?
No. Any trails, I believe the way the plan is written, like if we were to want to establish trails out there, that would be something that we would discuss here at the committee level.
So really all we have are the signs out there right now.
Yep. However, I do get calls.
Good calls?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, I haven't gotten a bad call yet. No, just what are the hunting regulations? Can I hunt turkeys out there? I mean, some of those types of things. So I haven't driven by and seen people hunting, but based on the calls I'm getting, people are utilizing it.
Okay. Thank you.
And I haven't received any issues or complaints.
Thank you. Okay. Lakes Alliance report. Yep. I'm sorry. Any questions? Yes, Supervisor Mullins.
Can I just review what if you don't mind, what the amendment was to the agenda that was put down? Nobody wanted to do it. What was that again?
Hold on.
You don't mind?
The amendment
To the agenda, and it wasn't voted yes.
Yes. Hold on one second. I have that. To remove item 26 and to put in the beginning of item 25, it is the committee's intention to not return to open session once the closed session is complete. The reason for that, you don't need to know.
No.
Okay, because I could certainly go into that if you would like. Okay.
The reason I'm doing that is because I'd like to bring up something that was brought up under county forest.
Okay.
And I've talked to you about it personally, and I expressed something to the county manager also.
Okay.
I'd like to just review, and please, I will do this as quickly as possible. Some information was given to our director in January of 2023 regarding the 460-page document for bats, the protection of. We didn't have a meeting in March. We had a meeting in April, and we spent quite a bit of time. We also had a meeting in May, quite a bit of time, brought it to county board, and county board put it back to the committee. I would just like to say that I was in the April meeting, which we spent quite a bit of time. I also was sitting next to Dustin, and it was a recommendation of Land and Water that we sign the agreement for our protection. There were a few questions at that time. I don't know, maybe 8 or 10, and then some comments. But I happened to notice any of the questions he had right here, and the answer was given. The particular one that was very important is it could cost us anything. And that was brought up immediately. Then going into May, we also looked at this and then decided on a skinny vote to put it to the board for the board's approval to sign the 2-page document, not the 460-page document, but the 2-page.
Are you talking about the resolution?
Resolution coming back to us. There were comments made about, you know, well, 460, you know, the government, they have this ability, the federal government, whenever you involve yourself. The only part of the federal government in that document was the fact of protecting the bats. The other was drafted by the states. I would just like to make a comment. I voted for it because, and this is, if this is honored, if I can say this or not, I voted for it because our department had a lot of time to look at that, discuss it, and our new staff member Kiefer did a lot of background on that item. So my vote was yes, because I wanted to put it back on their recommendation. So I don't see that specifically. It was ordered by the county board to come back to us and put it back into our committee. And I'm going to make a motion that we don't see it again.
We will see it again. My understanding is we are waiting for the draft agreement to become a true agreement, not in draft form. And then we can proceed forward. That is my understanding. Is that no longer the case, Dustin? I'm assuming that agreement is still in draft form from, what is it, the DNR or state or?
Yep. So the agreement so there was the resolution on the agenda authorizing me to sign the agreement to sign on to this habitat conservation plan. At the time it was approved, that agreement hadn't been, it had been drafted and it had gone by the DNR and it had gone from the DNR staff to the DNR legal team. It was still in review at DNR legal at the time of county board, and I have not gotten word that it's any different. There was a letter sent about it that it sounds like it should be coming soon. But that was, I think the impression coming from county board back to committee was, and maybe it's reading between the lines, is wait until that actual,
Till it's finalized.
until that.
So we know the language.
Agreement. It's not the 460 page thing. That's finalized, done. That's
the HCP plan, right? Yes.
The actual agreement that I would have to sign Adams County's name to, that has not been finalized by DNR attorneys yet.
Does that make better sense to you, Supervisor Mons?
Yes,
the reason
I retract
it's
the motion.
okay, so it's not on here because it's not in finalized format. When it is in finalized format, I would anticipate it's going to be put on the agenda. And I'm so sorry I interrupted you. Would you repeat what you had to say?
I retract that motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions for County Forest? Okay. Lake Alliance report is connected, is linked. I don't know if Bill is on and wishes to talk about it. Bill, do you wish to address?
Sure. I just have one little footnote. Just wanted to thank Kiefer for, he did a really nice job on last Saturday morning for an aquatic plant identification kind of seminar at Wolf Lake. And we had about 25 people show up, and it was really well attended, and it was very educational. So anyway, I just wanted to call that out.
Thank you, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions for Bill on the Lake Alliance report? Yes, Supervisor Mons.
Bill, any further on a citizen representative?
Yes, actually, we're going to be talking about that at the meeting tonight. It's on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Supervisor Mons. Anybody else? Yes, Supervisor Wimmer.
This just has to do with a general thing. Every time somebody comes in from the outside through the system, it is so loud. Is there no way that we can control that?
Yes, Melissa has the ability to turn it down and turn it up. Okay. We have a tendency to turn it up because really and truly a lot of the committee meetings, you can't even hear the person. Okay. So I think we start high and go low.
It blows me right out of the room. I was just going to say maybe we need to contact our the person responsible for putting this in, but if it's just a button that Melissa has over there, that'd be great if she can adjust it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You bet. You bet. All right. Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Moving on to FSA. Doreen is not here, so we will bypass that for next month. DATCAP report. The report was linked. If there are any questions. Seeing none, we'll move forward. I hope someone did see that the ATCP 50 was being discussed for revisions. That does apply to some of the Land and Water Committee. You're probably going to want to take a look at that. Also, there's other stuff too that you might want to pay attention to on the DATCAP report. And I wish I had printed it out. But I don't have it. Hold on a second. Maybe I do. So the ATCP 50 rule revision update is listed. They have a summary of proposed changes. They are, I think, still looking for input. There's also nutrient management news. The swarm information is out there for the grants. That also is applicable because we offer those from the department. Yeah, so So it is connected, and if you would take the opportunity to review those at your convenience, I'd appreciate it. Okay, moving on, financials. They were attached. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Identify upcoming agenda items. That might be where the BAT one goes into place if we have a finalized agreement. So there's that. Next meeting date. I'm proposing Tuesday, July 11th, as the first Tuesday is July 4th, and I don't think anyone's going to be here. So does that work with everybody's schedule? July 11th. It's the second Tuesday. First Tuesday is July 4th at 1 p.m. here. Okay. Is there, that's fine if we want, are there any other topics that we need to address for next agenda items? Shall we put vehicles back on if that bid information is available? Or
Chair, I can try to reach out to other vendors.
Okay.
But I really don't know if there's going to be any pricing at all on the half tons. There's no word yet from GM.
Okay, well, I think the committee wants a price before anything's moved forward. So would you reach out to me to let me know if we have prices to consider? And then we can add something like that next time. Yes, Supervisor McLaughlin.
Thank you. I don't know if this is necessarily appropriate, but I'm just wondering because there were some comments regarding the vehicles about retaining them longer. And so I guess, is it out of order, do you think, to ask for a poll? I mean, if the majority is for that idea, getting prices isn't going to help. I'm just.
So, yeah, okay. I don't know. Is this pardon me? Okay, so County Manager Haggard is saying that this is a management function. But I do think that the general comment during the discussion phase was that it's low mileage, they're operational. Perhaps the county wishes to reconsider and maybe hold on to them longer. Okay, all right, so keep me posted on that. All right, so going on to 25. This is where it gets a little long-winded. It is the committee's intention, no, I'm sorry, we skipped that. The committee will convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss the purchasing of land to add to the county forest. So at this stage, before we go into closed session, the public is excused from attending. We do, but I'm just letting Mary Lou know. That is true, that is true. So I would entertain a motion and a second to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85. I have to say the whole thing again, Supervisor Mons, I'm sorry. 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons to require closed session to discuss the purchasing of land to add to the county forest.
Move.
All right, Supervisor Mons makes a first and Supervisor McLaughlin is a second, and we will take a roll call vote. Supervisor Mons?
Yes.
Supervisor Wimmer? Yes. Supervisor McLaughlin? And myself is a yes also. And I believe that's it, right? The committee will reconvene in open session per Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.852, to consider and vote on appropriate matters arising out of the closed session. So we need a motion to approve the purchase price That was agreed upon during closed session. And Bruce.
We just need to vote on the item in closed session by roll call.
But it says on here to discuss the purchasing of land. It was very specific what I was told. So agreed price, agreed purchase price, I think is what we have to put. So
I roll call yes out of close.
we're already out of closed. We've reconvened into open with the recording is on.
I know, but you have to vote to roll call to come out of close.
If it's unanimous, you actually just have to say it was a unanimous vote to leave closed. Is what I was told.
Then I make a motion to vote on the
Purchase price agreed.
purchase price agreed in closed session.
And do we have a second? Supervisor Wimmer is a second. All those in favor, well, let's do a roll call. Roll call vote. Supervisor Mons?
Yes.
Supervisor McLaughlin? Supervisor Wimmer? Supervisor Shapey is a no. It still passes. And the meeting has come to an end. We are adjourned.